Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/WiseGuyRadio. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. That's at www.audibletrial.com, AUDIBLETRIAL.com/WiseGuyRadio. This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. We will be dissecting their journeys in hopes to deliver actionable content that you, the artist, can start implementing now, helping you grow not only as a creative spirit, but also a successful artistic entrepreneur. With a little organization, relationship building, and your artistic ability, you can obtain greatness. Climb aboard, whether an artist, retail owner, or enthusiast. We have a ton of fun in store for you. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 37. Today's show is all about tips, tricks, hacks, and our final book review for the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. This is Jay Michael, your host, and I am excited to be here today with you guys and discuss some of these knowledgeable facts and tips and hopefully some content you guys can put into use right away. Today's main tips we're going to be talking about in our health field is going to be all about overuse of hands and hand and muscle and wrist and shoulder strain, something that I am currently dealing with. And with being behind the torch for almost 17 years now, and the constant repetition and motion of my hands and what have you, my thumbs especially, I'm noticing quite a bit of uncomfortable pain and swelling in my wrist I'm dealing with right now. So I'm going to be talking to a occupational therapist and getting some massage work done specifically on my shoulder and wrist and arms here pretty soon. But in the meantime, I figured I would do some research, which I have done, and found some interesting facts and tips to help you guys out, either alleviate or also to help stop the process of overuse of your hands. And being the fact of, as glass artists, our hands and our eyes are probably two of our main tools from the very beginning, and then we get into our torches and kilns and furnaces and gravity and our breath and all that other fun stuff. But in the meantime, our hands are really the most significant part of what we do, and we need our hands to be able to rotate glass rods and tubes and punties and blah, blah, blah. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And also, again, we're going to be finalizing and going over the last bit of chapters of the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. And this book has been huge recently in myself personally and helping me revamp my business and restructure the way that I'm running things, including getting my new assistant lined up and ready to take over the production side of things as production manager for the studio, which will allow me then to focus on other areas of the glass business, including doing more custom work and also expanding my horizons with my product line. And so I'm pretty excited about that, and I hope you guys have taken this information also to heart and has helped you guys out there in terms of how to structure your business, even if it's just a simple structure. So we're going to get into that here in a little bit. Also wanted to give you guys a little heads up, a little note here that coming up, I have two demos I'm doing event-wise. The first one's going to be next Friday, September 25th at Tobacco Leaf Gallery up in Tallahassee, Florida. They are celebrating their 6th anniversary, and I was invited as one of several artists that would be on hand to be demonstrating. So anybody in the area in Florida or North Florida, South Georgia, that kind of area around there, I'd love to check you guys out. Come say hi. I will be recording the show there, doing some interviews, going to figure out a way to do a live broadcast as well as some Periscope stuff. And you guys don't forget, you can check me out on Periscope. First off, if you want to follow me on Twitter, probably the best way to go about it. Just go to Twitter and just look up J. Michael Glass, and that's what I'm under. And then my Periscope is Wise Guy Radio. But every time I go post on Periscope, I go ahead and do a little update on my Twitter first, so you guys know that I'm going to be there. So just kind of a little side note. Also, October 10th, I believe it is, I'm going to be doing a charity event demonstration at Bohemian Layer in Cocoa Beach, Florida. Initially, the charity was for a gentleman named Gage Robbins, who had cancer and unfortunately passed away from the cancer. But we decided to go ahead and continue forward with the event, and all the proceeds that are going to be raised will be helping his family out, along with also going to cancer research foundations as well. I'll be there from 3 p.m. till close, which is usually around 9 o'clock or so, I guess, there. doing some full demos. I'm not going to be doing any functional work that day. I'm going to be doing mostly sculptural stuff. I might do some function if I'm requested to, but mostly going to be there to do some cool sculptural stuff. And being in Cocoa Beach, I love it out there, and so I'm probably doing some sea life stuff or something like that. So come check us out. It's going to be at Bohemian Lair in Cocoa, Florida. You can also find a Bohemian Lair on Instagram and also Tobacco Leaf Gallery on Instagram as well. Just go check them out. I'll have their links in the show notes for that as well, along with the dates and times and everything else and addresses and all that good stuff. So don't forget, guys, go to wiseguyradio.com, WYZGUY radio.com to subscribe to our newsletter where we have exclusive content, up-to-dates on the show, and also any kind of calendar events. And speaking of calendar events, again, if anybody out there has any shows, demos going on, any sales, any of that kind of fun stuff, please feel free to contact me at info@wiseguyradio.com, and we are going to be compiling all this information, and we will have a calendar plug-in here pretty soon on the website, which we will be then showing events that's going on all over the world. Thank you so much for tuning in again. This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 37. I am Jay Michael, and it is time for the Book of the Month Club, the E-Myth Revisited Final Review. All right, everybody, welcome to, again, our review of the final installment of the Wise Guy Radio Audio Book of the Month Club with the E-Myth Revisited with Michael Gerber. And I'm reading from a group that I found, it's called summaries.com. And they have been given permission to review and summarize this book. And I found it to be very helpful myself, even though I've gone through and listened to the book several times, and now that I'm finding this written form, it kind of puts everything together and kind of a clear view for myself. All right, so the last two sections we get into is the business development process. Now, the idea is, again, the main idea for this section 3 is the business development process by which a successful franchise prototype can be built has 7 distinct steps and a foundation of 3 key activities. Okay? Now, the 3 foundations that they have that are the key activities are innovation, quantification, and orchestration. Now, the innovation part is the creativity in the thinking of new ideas, where innovation occurs whenever new ideas are put into practice. An innovative business constantly finds new answers to the questions. 1, what stops customers from getting more added value from interacting with the business? And 2, what is the best way to ensure our customers' needs are met? Innovation generates a high level of energy and distinguishes the business as being bold, progressive, and forward-thinking. It also includes the ability to simplify the business to its critical elements. Again, innovation is huge. Innovation allows us to increase our product lines, increase our ideas, but also allows us to listen to our industry and also to our customer, who really tells us what it is that we should be doing. Because without the customer buying our product, we're just kind of a lame fish in the water, just kind of swimming around in circles. If you have a customer that lets you know specifically what it is they're looking for, and as our industry grows and changes, as we all know, you got to change with it. Now, if you think of examples of like the whole functional glass game, so this whole pertains to the glass artist, whether you're making pendants, you're cranking out vases in a furnace all day, ornaments, pumpkins, there's different ways of being innovative and understanding your customers, but you also have to understand the trends of the industry. Now, the second activity gets into this, which is called quantification, and the idea is that quantification is good. Quantification is innovation. Foundation activity number 2. This thing is quantification. Innovation without quantification. The numbers that show how much impact the innovation has made leads nowhere. Good businesses record and quantify everything, and then move heaven and earth to find ways to improve those numbers week in and week out. Once you've quantified everything, you can build a database that will unearningly track your business's health and progress. Armed with the specifics, your business planning will take on new relevancy and urgency. So if you go through a month period of time and you keep track of everything you're selling, and you look at your product line, and really this takes about 90 days to process this to get a really good scale on exactly how your sales are going and what products are going the best. But say you have 5 items, right? You have a pendant, you have a spoon, you have a chillum, you have a bubbler, and they have a rig. And you look at your sales on those 5 items over a month period of time, and you can see what items are selling the best at one point in time, and also you can see what was it about those items that made them sell better. And as you find things that sell better, you can change them and tweak them a little bit, whether you change color, add a little piece of glass here, a little piece of glass there. It will then increase your value. The example that they give in the book is they're talking about the beginning process of their quantification with sales, and they experiment with what type of clothing they're wearing and the colors that actually are in the clothing that lead to better sales. Now, there's all kind of research that's been done on how color and psychology work, which all of this comes into play. So think about researching colors and how they best work and suit sales. Now, in the glass world, and what we're doing, especially in the pipe industry, a lot of our colors are driven by trends or what is the next hot kind of deal, which again are trends, but in a kind of a different manner. Like when Lemon Drop first came out, it was like, holy shit, this color's awesome. It's a new transparent yellow. This stuff's badass. And it went from being $75 a pound to $100 a pound because of supply and demand. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I rarely see any Lemon Drop stuff out there. Now, it's out there, but it isn't like it was. Now it's Illuminati or Purple Lollipop. There's a couple different new colors out there that are making the trendy colors. So you got to look at the trends too and how to adjust and adapt to the trends through the quantification process of keeping records of your sales. And you can create charts, pie charts, graphs, or just write down numbers and just do some math. It's kind of a simple process. But it's important to find out where your trends are. And even throughout the year, you can keep track of these trends and you can see your ebbs and flows in the business, especially when it comes to season. Now, not every place has seasons. In Florida, we definitely have a season, and our seasons here are very similar to the restaurant industries, where really we start kicking in around October, and then it fizzles out around March, April, which is kind of weird. Now, I'm sure in states like Colorado, Alaska, Oregon, and Washington, it's a little different because now with the laws changing, it's a year-round type of situation. So just kind of an idea there for the quantification process, again, is keeping track and recording everything that you do and quantify the results and figure out how you can increase sales based on what they were previously and how you can change them to increase them. Now, the orchestration process is the last activity part of running a business plan, and this has to do with optimizing your business. It's the process of removing discretion at the operating level of the business in favor of whatever produces the best results. Thus, orchestration starts with innovation, is validated by quantification, and ultimately embeds best practices into the business's standard operating procedure. Once something has been deliberately orchestrated, results become predictable and consistent. You then have a franchise model. Again, this allows you to scale your business. A unique way your business delivers value to clients and customers whenever they interact with you, which means basically that if Joe Blow buys a pipe from you tomorrow and they call you back in 6 months and they want to buy another pipe, they expect the exact same experience they got the first time. Unless the first time was a shitty experience, then they may not call you back again. Hopefully you can rectify the situation and then make it better and they can come back to you. But it's just the idea of A, going through the innovation of the product, B, quantifying it, finding the trends, how you best sold it, what sold best, what didn't sell, tweaking those things, and then you orchestrate it and you put it into action, and then it runs itself, which becomes a standard system of operation, like anything else. If you're making someone a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and you have 4 different types of jelly that you're trying to choose from, you're going to try and figure out which jelly they like the best, and if they keep buying that same type of jelly, you're going to keep using that same jelly to make your peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with. Just kind of an analogy there for you to think about. So in the glass is the exact same way. Anything that you sell is like that. Just kind of think about that. So the idea in short is that innovation, quantification, and orchestration form the foundation for the business development process because they are the processes in which businesses can anticipate and respond to changing market conditions. They are the essence of continuous quality improvement, the holy grail for any business that aspires to become world-class and successful over the long haul. And I mean world-class like look at the Joe Peters and the coils and the slingers and the U-Sheens. There's 25 names I can name right now. Laceface. So many different people out there in this industry that have taken this concept and are constantly evolving their glass as the trends flow and go, as their product line goes and flows. You always got to keep adjusting, but you have to be innovative at first from the very beginning, and that's also what it means to be an entrepreneur. To be an entrepreneur is to find something in the market that people have a need for, and you find a way to fill that need. But you got to fill the need through innovation, quantification, and orchestration. So you develop it and design it, you find out the best way to market it and what sells the best, and then you put it all together and you have a running business that can literally run itself if you understand that you have people helping you work. I mean, obviously the manufacturing you may have to do yourself, but you get the idea. So there you go. Now we get into the organizing the strategy for this whole concept. And organizing the strategy this is how we take our business and we really organize it into how the business is going to run. Now, if you're an individual owner, sole proprietor, business owner, this may not necessarily be what you're looking for. I know myself personally, I'm not going to expand into this too much. I will eventually have a corporation in a sense, but long-term for myself, that's the goal. Short-term over the next year is just getting this started of having a production manager and having a small team of people that are working with me, under me, but also under my production manager. Now, ideally, the primary aim for step one when you are developing your process of your business is, although your business isn't your life, it will have an important role in your life. Therefore, the first step in developing a business is to answer the following questions. What do you personally value most in life? What kind of life do you want to lead? What do you want your life to look like when completed? Who do you wish to be deep down? In short, great people have a vision for the way they want their lives to develop. Until you take the time to articulate that, your business cannot really be properly developed. The critical difference between successful people and less successful people is that successful people don't leave things to chance. They create their lives actively rather than waiting for things to happen by chance. In other words, successful people go to work on their lives and don't just exist in their lives. And a quote from Michael Gerber from the book itself is, your primary aim is the vision necessary to bring your business to life and your life to your business. Now, in the last episode, last Wednesday, I got into this a lot, talking about the whole idea of figuring out the life you want to live and how can you run your business to create the life you want to live. So this is kind of getting into it and how we go about doing this. Now, that's the primary aim that we can look into, is how do we want to live our lives outside of the business and have our business run to help us then live those lives. Now, step two is the strategic objective, which is basically getting the business lined up and how it's going to run properly, the rights and the wrongs. And it says your strategic objective are the metrics or standards by which you specify success. 3, 2, 1. Your strategic objective are the metrics or standards by which you specify success will be measured. They state that the business has to do for you to, they state what the business has to do for you to achieve your primary aim. There are no right or wrong standards, but some of the most frequently used standards are, and they get into 5 of them. 1 is money. Gross revenues, profitability, market value. How big is your vision? What are you aiming for? What is your exit strategy? And what will you have to show for your efforts when you reach that point? So the idea is basically take your ideas that you have for your life, how much you want to make a year, how much is going to cost for you to have that lifestyle you want to have, and write it down on paper and figure out how to get to that point to do it. Number 2 says an opportunity worth pursuing. Is your business concept sufficiently broad that you can achieve your primary aim and strategic objective? If not, what's going to change? You don't want to set yourself up to fail. Will you be able to attract enough qualified customers? Qualified customers are those that you want to have in your demographic that are going to be able to purchase your items. Not everybody is going to be able to afford your product line. Now, I set myself up to where I have a product line for everybody to afford, low end, medium end, and high end. You may not or may not want to do that. It depends on your style and what you want to do. So just things to think about. Number 3 is your geographic reach. Will your business be a local business, a regional business, a national business, or an international business? Now, fortunately, with us now, with being able to mail things around the world, it's a lot easier for us to become an international business. We don't necessarily need to stick just to our region. Now, as a glass artist, a lot of times your local community will be your biggest supporter. I find that my Florida community, I love everybody here because they have supported my work and helped me get my Wise Guy line going over the past three almost 4 years now. And so I know my geographic reach is all over the place, but specifically here in Florida where I live. So just things to think about in terms of local sales and shops and stuff. Also think about your time frame. How long will it take for you to complete your time frame for your prototype? How long will it take for you to complete your prototype business? Now, your prototypes are your samples, and also how you are going to take these samples and then sell them, and scale in your business. So it's kind of some different ideas, and just kind of figure out how it's going to be. And also think about business positioning. Will the business serve clients directly or serve other businesses? Or what market demographics are being targeted? Now, we all know what our demographics are for our glass pipes. We sell to people that smoke, and we also sell to shops that sell the smoking accessories and products. So it's kind of a simple idea there. And again, it's a large community, so we have a large number of people that will buy our products potentially. Now we're getting to the organizational strategy, and the organizational strategy is all about taking the business concept and becoming extremely organized with the level of management. Now, again, you don't necessarily need to go into this far, but a lot of this is important information nonetheless. So it says, many small businesses fail to develop a formal organizational chart because they assume everyone knows what they should be doing. Unfortunately, that generally guarantees nobody becomes accurate, or that nobody becomes accountable. However, as a franchise prototype, an organizational chart will be required. And then they gave you a sample of the organizational chart. Now, again, we're not going to franchise our businesses necessarily, but the idea is to set your business up to where if somebody could walk in the door and say, hey, how do you run your business? I'd like to learn how to do this. You have an operations manual that you can then hand them. They can read it, and then you can physically train them how to work based on this organized chart and training operation manual that you have. So to summarize pretty much everything this book has to go over is here in this again, I'm using this, I'm going to have the link on the show notes, but it's called summaries.com that they get into. And they get into the step 7, which is the system strategy. So to summarize this, you now have to figure out with your business, again, step 1 is your primary aim. Step 2 is the strategic objective. Step 3 is organizing and strategy. Step 4 is the management strategy, which basically is how are you going to manage who you have hired and how are you going to compensate them. Step 6 is marketing, and this gets into demographics, psychographics. This whole idea of this marketing strategy is that probably 60 to 80% of sales is on a subconscious level, which is basically like spontaneous buying of items. But you need to know your demographics of your customer. You also need to know their psychographics. And the psychographics are the science of why certain demographics buy for one reason while another demographics buy for a totally different reason altogether. This can also be addressed in the same demographic customers in the survey of color preferences, shape preferences, word preferences, and brands of consumer goods they've purchased in the past. If you're armed with this kind of information, which is based on your whole organizing your charts and keeping your things going together, with the whole idea of the quantification process of the business, you will be able to then see what items sell best where and when and why. It's huge. So if you have a 3-inch spoon and you have 5 colors, and you may find that blues sell better in California, but reds sell better in New York, and oranges sell better in Florida, well, then you're going to continue to make that particular color spoon for that specific demographic in that specific state. And this is how you really break things down to get into the nitty-gritty of it. Now, I can go on for the next 6 hours and really bore the shit out of you guys with more information on this. What you guys need to do is get out a piece of paper and a pen. If you guys want to pause this real quick, you can pause it and come back. Okay, I'm waiting. Okay, you ready? Okay, let's do it. All right, pen and paper. Write down the exact life that you want to live and map it out in front of you. What I tend to do is I'll draw a little circle, and in that circle I put me at my age, which is 39, and then from there I will draw lines like a bubble chart. I'll create home, I'll create car, I'll create whatever toys you want to have. If you want to have activities that you do outside of the world of glass, and your family, whether it's disc golfing or hiking or fishing. Write all that stuff down and break it down into all that shit and really figure out the nitty-gritty of who you are and where you want to be, and then figure it out where you want to be in the next year, where you want to be in the next 5 years, the next 20 years. It's really interesting information. Stuff you guys got to think about and take to heart because it's all very important. And then figure out how are you going to get to that point of that lifestyle. It may take a long time. It might take 5 years. It might take you 10 years. Now, unfortunately or fortunately, with the way the industries are changing, for all of us here, it may be happening sooner than later. But again, it starts with a plan. So create a plan of attack, write down that, and then you also need to figure out the items that you create. And the items that you create, you need to figure out how you make them and write them down, even if it's not a photo thing. Just write down the thing. Say, hey, this 3-inch spoon, I know it takes a 2-inch little section of some 32 heavy wall. It takes about a half an inch of color. It takes me about 15 minutes to create, and I can sell this item for $10 wholesale. Or if I'm selling to a distributor, I might sell it to them for $8. Think about all that stuff. Write it down. How many of those do you need to make a day, and then a week, and then a month, and then a year to create the income for yourself that you want to create? And again, you got to think about gross income and net income. Your gross income is how much things cost before taxes and also cost of goods. You then subtract all that stuff. You have your profit, and then from your profit is when you then have your taxes that you take out of it. So again, you think about, say, 15 to 25% of your profit number is going to be taxes. So if you have a $100 profit on an item, you need to take $25 out of that $100 and put it in savings to pay your taxes. And make sure, again, you're paying your quarterly taxes, not annual. The second thing you guys want to do in the operations process is to get a folder out and write down a list in a folder of opening procedures, closing procedures, what happens in the middle of the day, what are you doing on each individual day? Is Monday wrap and rakes? Is Tuesday inside outs? Is Wednesday rigs? Is Thursday free day? Is Friday what? You know what I'm saying? Like, think about how you want to live your life and your schedule. And then also schedule in your free time and activities. It's such an important thing to do. Huge. So just some things to think about there, guys. Overall, just take into account on paper, write it down, look at it, think about it, dream about it, and then put that piece of paper somewhere visible so you can see it on a daily basis and tell yourself that's the life you want to live. That's where you want to be. You want to be blah, blah, blah. Like, I want to live in St. Thomas for 3 months out of the year. We're in the process of figuring out how the hell we're going to do that. So it's not easy. It takes time. It takes work. But with books like this, like the E-Myth, you guys can then have a reference in a sense to go to, or this podcast as well, to go to, and then in turn take this knowledge and then run with it and kick some ass and be productive and be successful as an artistic entrepreneur. So again, I hope all these rants and rambles and circles I've been going into helps you guys out. It's helping me out tremendously. And again, I'm going to put a link to the summary of this book by summaries.com, which is the only allowed summary of this book that they are doing. It's by the publication of Maryland Small Business Development Center Network that I've read from. So, again, the book is called The E-Myth Revisited, Why Most Small Businesses Don't Work and What to Do About It by Michael Gerber. You guys are awesome. Hope this wasn't too boring. And next book we're going to go into is a book that is called The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And this book is full of a bunch of crazy things, including activities that we're going to get into and do that will help you guys grow not only as humans and fun people, but also how to take the concept of the 80-20 principle and put it into your glass. How to get the most out of the least amount of effort. And it's not working 4 hours a week like the book says, but it's the concept of having the ability, if you wanted to get more money per hour so you can work 4 hours a week if you needed to. So, all right, y'all. That has been our final summary and revision and our reading of the E-Myth Revisited and our what has now become our August and September e-book of the Bi-Month Club. Wise Guy Radio Health Tip of the Week. All right, and now it's time for the Wise Guy Radio Health Tip of the Week. And this week we are talking about what is called repetitive strain injuries, or RSI. And repetitive strain injuries are a group of family of injuries affecting tendons, tendon sheaths, muscles, nerves, and joints. They cause persistent or recurring pain, most commonly in the neck, shoulders, forearms, hands, wrists, elbows, and lower limbs. The term repetitive strain injury is misleading. Unlike other diseases, RSIs are not easily classified because they have a variety of causes and include injuries to different parts of the body. A number of terms are applied to such injuries, including repetitive injury, repetitive motion injury, repetitive trauma, overuse injury, etc. And the different terms indicate that such injuries involve repetition and can also be caused by force, rapid movement, overuse, static loading, excessive strain, uncomfortable positions of limbs, or holding one's posture in an unnatural, constrained, or constricted position. Now, all this information I've been doing research on comes from a site that is for the Canadian. It's from the Canadian Union of Public Employees, and they created this article for their employees to understand workplace injuries and how to avoid them. Because again, our hands are our biggest tool that we use besides our torch and our breath and gravity, and our eyes as well. And we have to understand that we need to keep our hands in good shape. With the cell phones nowadays, a lot of us that use phones don't text properly. Like myself personally, I know there's times I find myself holding my iPhone where my pinkies are holding the bottom of the phone, and I'm actually putting pressure on my pinkies, kind of stretching the tendons out, which if I do it for too long, I could definitely feel a little pain. But really, myself personally, I've been feeling a lot of pain in my palm, my thumb muscle area, the tendon that's in there, and also my wrists. So because of this, I decided that I needed to do some research and get some physical help also from an occupational therapist or massage therapist. And through this process, I thought I should share this with you guys. And again, this comes from a website. It's cupe.ca, and I'll have this link on the show notes page as well, along with the other ones that I had mentioned before. So basically the idea is that anybody out there that does repetitive motions is going to be potentially affected by this stuff. It's not anything that is really good for you. A lot of it can be stopped, though. It talks about the feelings of sense and discomfort. A lot of us deal with a little bit of pain, and we take our safety breaks to kind of maybe help ease the pain or what have you. But you have to understand that if you're feeling pain, it's a sign that you have something going on and you need to take a break. Here's some of the signs and symptoms that they talk about that you're feeling potentially with having the RSI, the repetitive strain injuries. You can deal with things. General symptoms include numbness, tingling and burning sensations, pain or a dull ache, dry, shiny palms, which I guess would refer to overuse of the hands, like using a screwdriver or something of that nature. Clumsiness of the hands, which is the loss or ability to grasp items, impaired thumb and finger dexterity, any kind of swelling around the wrist and hand, and wasting of the muscle at the base of the thumb, or aches and pains may be the strongest at night. Pain in one area of the body may radiate to another connecting part. Pain from the wrist can radiate to the forearm and the shoulder joint. There's a lot of different concepts and ideas in here that they talk about, different types of issues that can happen, and certain repetitive movements or forceful exertions, such as twisting a screwdriver, can cause the tendons to rub against adjacent bones and ligaments, which causes friction and damages to the tendons and constrictions of the muscles that were designed to move. The various names for the RSI reflect the fact that different tendons, joints, or muscles may become damaged depending on which movements are overdone. Now, the one I found which sounded the most likely that we will be dealing with, besides carpal tunnel, is one that is called tenosynovitis. Tenosynovitis. Yeah, say that 5,000 times quickly. But basically what it says, rapid and repetitive movements such as keyboard work on typewriters, and the repeated twisting of the forearm and hands with tools such as pliers can cause an injury known as tenosynovitis. While tendinitis is the inflammation of the tendons, tenosynovitis is the inflammation of the tendon sheaths around the hand or the wrist. Tendons located at the wrist and ankle are enclosed in delicate synovial sheaths. And it says in parentheses, you can feel the tendons and synovia move as you place a finger below the wrist crease and open and close your wrist. The double-walled sleeve of the sheath secretes synovial fluid, which protects and provides lubrication for the tendon so that damage and injury from rubbing, friction, and pressure is prevented. Rest periods are needed to replenish this fluid. With continuous movement, the lubrication protecting the tendon sheaths is depleted or poor quality lubricant is produced. This causes friction, which in turn stimulates increased production of lubricant. When increased lubricant production cannot meet the demand, the tendon and sheath rub against each other and become inflamed. Movements become painful and can cause creaking sounds called crepitus. And if you're hearing that in your wrists, any kind of popping or anything like that, you need to definitely make sure that you're taking breaks and giving your wrist a chance to heal. It says in the early stages of tenosynovitis, the worker may experience numbness, tingling, and pain during movement. If this happens, work should cease. Injury to the sheath can restrict hand or arm movement and weaken both muscle and grip. Symptoms of tenosynovitis include pain in the wrist and forearm, which may travel up the elbow to the shoulder. Swelling and a clear cracking sound may occur. If recognized early enough, as with most such injuries, the condition will improve with rest, although the condition may flare up again. If work continues after the first symptoms appear, however, the tendon and tendon sheaths may scar, causing irreversible damage. The only reasonable way to deal with tenosynovitis is to prevent it. So, there you go. Now, here is what carpal tunnel syndrome is. Carpal tunnel syndrome. Repetitive finger movements, which is what we do with glass blowing. Pinching and squeezing with fingertips, we do with glass blowing. Hand exertions with bent wrists, glass blowing. Excessive use of the index finger. Twisting of wrists. Overly tight grip and uneven work movement can lead to a painful condition called carpal tunnel syndrome. Sounds like all of us lamp workers out there when we work. The carpal tunnel is a narrow channel formed by the carpal bones. It runs through the inner side of the wrist. Tendons inside that tunnel run parallel the extremely fragile median nerve. Now, the median nerve is a nerve that runs from your hand into your wrist that goes into your forearm and up your arm and into your brain, which allows you to feel different movements and also heat and pain sensors and what have you. It's kind of an interesting nerve that's going on there. But it does run through there, and if it is messed up or hurt in any manner, you could have some serious long-term nerve damage. But this nerve passes from the shoulder and the forearm to the hand, sending nerve signals from fingers and the palms. Flexing causes the tendon inside the carpal tunnel to compress on the median nerve, just as sitting for a long period with legs crossed compresses a nerve and causes numbness. So think about that, same kind of idea. Simple CTS occurs when and the CTS again is carpal tunnel syndrome, occurs when the presence of fluid or the thickening of tissues squeezes the median nerve. The more serious condition of the secondary carpal tunnel syndrome occurs when inflamed tendon sheaths in the carpal tunnel, again the tenosynovitis, cause increased pressure on the median nerve. Workers performing light but highly repetitive movements of the wrist and fingers are particularly likely to develop this injury. The symptoms of carpal tunnel syndrome are numbness, tingling and burning sensations, pain in the wrist, wasting of the muscles at the base of the wrist, shiny palms, clumsiness of the hands, swelling of the wrists and hands, loss of the ability to grasp items, and impaired thumb and finger dexterity. In the early stages, one may have a sore wrist or forearm. In later stages, the pain may be acute and the movement of wrist or finger is limited. There may be a grating sensation, crepitus, with movement. In the advanced stage, finger movements may be jerky, and in the final stage, the thumb and fingers may become locked, which if we have a finger and thumb lock, we're fucked. So take care of your hands. There's a whole bunch more different things in here. Again, I'll have the show notes links up on the thing. But here's a couple different things that you can do to help alleviate this from happening. They have a list of like 6 to 7 items here, and I'm only going to read a couple of them that actually pertain to us. So the idea is a provision for rest and time off work. If the cause of the repetitive motion trauma, etc., is eliminated, a healing process can begin. Too often, the worker will return to work as soon as the pain disappears. This furthers the problem, possibly causing a worsening of the condition. Surgery to deal with this serious injury is always the last resort, especially in the case of repetitive strain injuries. Job rotation, let's see, that doesn't make any difference. Let's see. Another idea is to redesign the way the tools are made to specific needs. For example, some tools can be designed with smaller grips that require less power to manipulate, squeeze, or press, so that hands and wrists are in the same posture as when they are hanging relaxed at one side. Badly fitting components should be eliminated and machinery well maintained. Sometimes tools can be redesigned, but the effect is offset by a resultant increase in work rate. So it's kind of the idea, really what we got to make sure we're doing is having proper body mechanics and posture with our arms. If we're working with our arms at a way to where they're causing our wrists to be bent in almost a 90-degree angle from our forearm, like perpendicular basically to our forearms, you're going to fuck yourself in the long run and give yourself carpal tunnel or this other one, which is against the tenosynovitis. So make sure that if you even need to, if you feel like you have weak wrists, I know I've always dealt with having weak wrists. I'm pretty strong in other areas, but for some reason my wrists have always been somewhat weak. My forearms are very strong, but my wrists are weak, and especially my left arm, and because I'm right-handed, my left arm does a lot of work, more so than it used to, and I'm finding that my left hand and wrist and shoulder are what are giving me the most problems, especially my thumb and the tendon that runs from the base of my thumb into my palm of my hand, because of the rotation and from carrying and holding bigger, heavier weights. Using bench rollers, using elbow rests that are created, there's some ergonomical type of equipment you can buy for your bench that will help you keep aligned and keep good body posture. But it is so important in the long run to give yourself breaks, to rest, to stretch, and to be fit. You don't have to be ripped and shredded with a six-pack, but ideally, if you are physically fit, it will help keep your body mechanics in a good alignment. If you have a strong core, something I do not have that I had at one point, and I'm now back to working on getting my core strong, but it's so important to be able to stand up straight and to be able to hold a good body mechanic with your hands and arms while you're working your glass. It also allows you to work heavier glass also. And again, bench rollers are one thing you can use to help with that. I'm going to be experimenting with some wrist guards when I sleep at night, and also one that I will wear when I work on my left hand that hopefully will help me with some kind of strength reinforcement in my forearm and wrist, so I can then hold bigger items and what have you. I try to stay small with what I work with, but even the small repetitive motion type stuff will get to you. And then especially if you are, a handy person like myself and you like building things at home or doing yard work or whatever, at that point in time, you don't really give yourself a break. Or if you're a musician also, being a musician, you're using your fingers and your hands. So you got to think about how to balance out your life, your chores, and your job, and make sure that you're doing it all in a healthy manner with good body mechanics and proper form. One thing I will share with you guys, and I will do a little photo journal that will go into next week's newsletter on a stretch that I do. And it's a stretch that's really good for your wrists. And the guy that taught me, Gordon Key, was my master from the beginning, showed me this. And what you want to do is you place your hands, and if you guys are listening to me right now, do this along with me. So put your hands together like you're praying. And the idea is that you want to spread your fingers apart as far apart as you can. Bring your elbows up to your sides and put your hands in a praying position while spreading your fingers out as far apart as you can. But also while you're doing the finger spreading, you want to put as much pressure on your palms pushing against each other as possible. And by doing that, you're opening up your carpal tunnels and your carpals and metacarpals in your wrists, which are those little small round bones that then go into your finger bones, into your phalanges. By helping to spread out your fingers and your thumbs as wide as possible while pushing the pressure on your palms together, again, you're helping to open up all those areas. And then if you slowly rotate your hands away from you so that then your pinky almost touches your body and your belly to where your hands are pointing down, and then rotate back up real slow to where your thumbs go past your chest, and you bring your hands back to your body to where your middle finger are touching your body, your chest-wise. And do that back and forth a couple times. Just go real slow, but the whole time keeping a consistent pressure against your palms, keeping your fingers spread wide open, and just slowly go back and forth, and then breathe. Inhale, and exhale. as you're stretching out your hands. Now, you may feel a little pop in your wrists or a little crack or whatever, but if you do that, whether you're sitting at a light in your car, you're getting ready to work in between breaks, it's very important to do this particular technique and step as a stretch because, again, it will help to alleviate any kind of, not any kind, but it'll help alleviate some pressure in your wrists, and you'll actually kind of feel your wrists opening up a little bit. Also, doing baseball stretches where you grab your elbow and you pull your forearm past, say you grab your left elbow, and you pull your elbow almost so that it's parallel or perpendicular to your right bicep with your left hand going around trying to touch your back. You can stretch out your shoulder that way. You can stretch out your bicep and tricep really good. Do that with both arms. You can do the same thing by putting your elbow in the air behind your head and then pulling down on your hand so that you're now stretching your shoulder and also your lats a little bit as well. There's little techniques in there, and all these things I will be discussing and having in next week's newsletter with a little photo journal on different stretching techniques you can do specifically for your wrists and your forearms and your shoulders. I was thinking when I was first having some wrist pain that it was due to a pinched nerve in my shoulder, but my massage therapist told me that it was more likely being caused from the amount of tension that I have in my muscles in my forearm. So something I didn't really think about, but it's kind of, when she started working my forearms, I could really feel that alleviation of pain in my hand and my wrists. So just things to think about. So just pay attention, proper body mechanics. If you do feel like you've had a long day on the torch and you want to come home, get an ice pack out, wrap it in a towel, get the towel wet if you want to, and ice your hands. You can even just get like a bowl of ice big enough to really stick your whole hand into it or both hands into it. And then you can get a washcloth and get it wet and throw it in your microwave for about 15 seconds. And then you can wrap that around your wrist and do a warm compress and kind of go back and forth, and that'll help alleviate the swelling. I know a lot of us don't like taking medications, but an ibuprofen or an Aleve every once in a while will definitely help also with inflammation, which is the inflammation part is what causes most of our injuries and pain that we deal with in our wrists and forearms. So just something to think about. I don't want to get too long-winded and redundant on this. Just, again, proper body mechanics, keep stretched out, keep going, and take your time and take breaks and stretch. And after you guys do all this stuff, you'll keep your body in check and you'll be able to do what you're doing for a long time to come and be successful at it. So I hope this helps, guys. This has been your Wise Guy Radio Health Tip of the Week. All right, so I hope all this information has been good for you guys. I know the Wednesday shows can be a little long and me talking and getting long-winded. But again, I like to share this information with you guys and help you get through some processes that I'm dealing with myself so that when it comes time to deal with the process, you're already one step ahead of the game. This knowledge is very important and will help you not only grow as a business owner, but in your personal life too as you guys begin to develop and design the life that you want to live. Because again, as being a solo entrepreneur, artistic entrepreneur, lifestyle entrepreneur, business owner, whatever you want to call it, we have the ability to design the life that we want to live and then build our business around that design and design our business around the design of our life. But you got to make sure you're organized, that you have a list, that you have pictures that you've taken even, have catalogs put together, and really get organized. Go get a freaking 3-ring binder and print this shit out and punch holes in it, laminate it if you want it, if you have to, and get organized. Have an operations manual in and out, how things are created. If you have an assistant or an apprentice or people working under you, they need to understand the rules and regulations. You need to sign contracts also for yourself, even if it's a simple contract as say, hey, this is the rules and regulations, this is what the shop rules are, blah, 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 and then you sign it yourself. And anybody in your studio that's working with you or that's renting space or whatever, they need to be on that same page with you. And if they're not willing to sign a contract, then they need to go. Don't forget to go to wiseguyradio.com and subscribe to our newsletter. And we, again, are going to be putting our calendar of events up. Don't forget, I will be demoing at 2 spots on September 25th at Tobacco Leaf Gallery up in Tallahassee, Florida, Bohemian Lair in Cocoa Beach on October 10th for a charity event there as well. So definitely come by, say hi, introduce yourself. I'd love to meet you all. And again, hope you all take all this stuff to heart and you can put it and implement it into your businesses and your life and be the most successful artistic entrepreneur that you personally can be. I love you guys. Thanks for listening to my rants and my circle talks and whatever else. And again, I hope this all helps you guys. We will talk to you soon. Love you all. Take care. See you. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. If you have any questions, comments, or remarks, please leave them in the show notes page area where it says comments. We'll see you soon. Have a wise night.